when I went into that property and asked the golden question as how long have you had this problem for, it took him about 3 minutes until he said 6 years.
So today we've got Mark Porter from Porter's Pest Control and Matt from Lodi, Matt Towler.
Good morning, Jen.
It's a bit early at the 9 a.m. for me, but we're doing a morning podcast today. A busy day for you in London, Mark? What have you got?
Absolutely. So after this, we've got to go and look at a new block, which has got a current rodent problem that we've got to go and investigate for one of our block management clients. So got to go and assess that and put some proposals forward to help them out. Then over to West London for a pigeon survey, and then a couple of more surveys locally for rodents. So it's relentless at the moment.
Right. How have you found it coming out of the lockdown then? Have things picked up quite well, or is it quite busy around there?
Yeah, I mean, London's been pretty busy throughout, really. I mean, with the sort of clientele that we naturally deal with, we've not been too badly affected by it because a lot of the premises that we look after are unmanned. So we've got keys, we've got fobs and access codes to get into the areas where no other people are going to likely to be. So we've been able to get on, but starting to see a lot more vehicles on the road now. It's been all right. We've had a bit of good luck and fortune, really.
Is that kind of, Matt, going across the industry? Would you say you talked to quite a few pest controllers, a lot like Mark, or what's been happening?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's slowly. I think a lot of people in the beginning were unsure as to what they could do and where they could go. But I think the message is out there now that they can, that we are a key industry and we need to be out there doing what we can. And I think that's the same for everybody, really. They're out, and most people are telling me that they're quite busy, so which is a good sign.
Yeah, I mean, we've got, there's 3 of us out on the road on a daily basis, and there's two ladies in the office who coincidentally happen to be my wife and my mother-in-law, so that works pretty well.
Does your son ever chip in as well?
Yeah, so we actually just made an announcement yesterday on the 1st of June that my eldest son, Jamie, will be joining the business imminently. Once this COVID relaxes a little bit more and it's safe for him to come out, he'll be coming out, joining the business with us. So that's a huge milestone in my
Wow.
the business plan that I set out when I started up.
That's fantastic. You've been training him. What's his favourite area, would you say? Do you like
Well, he's very much involved in bed bugs, like what I am. He's got quite a fascination of dealing with bed bugs. He's had that experience with rodents. He's watched me tackle rodents and the proofing element, so he enjoys proofing also. But yeah, I think like me, I think bed bugs is definitely his forte.
Matt, did you ever see the viral video that went around with Mark? There's a few years now.
I'm not sure. No. Wait, was this the one where you went somewhere that was absolutely humping with bed bugs?
Absolutely, that's the one.
That was a couple of years ago, was that? About 18 months ago?
2017, that was.
Yeah, I do remember that one. That was horrific.
Yeah, it was a bit of a game changer, that's for sure.
What actually happened?
So, long story short, we basically got asked if we would go and investigate into a bed bug issue, which, we did the standard investigations. The original property that we knocked on, they was clearly not the source, and we knocked on the neighbours next door. And before I even went in, as soon as I opened up the door, I could smell almonds, which is a large indicator of activity.
Almonds.
Bed bugs. Almonds, however you pronounce it. And the place was just absolutely, well, you see the videos, it's mind blowing.
Really? I'm gonna have to. I'll put the link below. I'll find it later because it is on your Facebook still. But it blew up, didn't it? You got in some newspapers, or? Yeah. So
I mean, the intention was never for that to happen. It was really, those that know and follow me, I always live stream a lot of our work. I'm proud of the industry that I'm in, so it's just something that I naturally do. So we did a live feed. We got permission from the client to do that, and we finished quite late. We finished about 9-10 p.m. that night. So went to bed, and I woke up the next morning, and it was like someone had hacked my Facebook because there was notifications galore. It was shared. I was having people from America, Brazil, South Africa, Poland. I was having all these requests to join the group. I mean, as it stands today, we've got just over 17,000 members on my Facebook group.
Wow.
The video itself, #infested, has had 1.8 million views on Unilad so far. It reached the Sun newspaper, the New York Post, beg your pardon. So yeah, it was incredible. But again, the intention wasn't to get sort of that kind of attention. It was really to sort of share just how bad it was and what we was taking on.
Yeah. Matt, you ever been on a bedbugs job that bad?
I've done quite a few surveys for bedbug jobs in the past, and some pretty horrific ones. I did one once at it was sort of like a hostel place, and it was that bad that they'd just gotten to the point where they slept in the middle of the floor in a sleeping bag. And when we came into the room, as Mark just said, obviously one of the first things you smell is the smell. And then walking into the room, there were just literally fingerprints down the walls, where they just got up in the night, got that fed up with it. They were just squashing them against the walls, so it looked like literally someone was dragging their hands down the walls with blood. I've seen. I don't think I've seen anything quite like what Mark posted, but yeah, some pretty horrific issues I've seen over the years.
Yeah, it sounds
once they take hold, what's actually the treatment? You can only just use some strong product, I guess, or.
So yeah, I mean, in our instance, we used various methods. We used quite a lot of different methods. I mean, in the first instance, we wrapped the mattress because the bed was so badly infested. We wrapped that just to minimise the actual pesticides that were being used. We wrapped it all up and we completely got it out. We used steam. We used a Cymex eradicator. We used a number of insecticides throughout the treatment. We ended up inspecting and looking after 134 flats over 5 floors.
Wow.
The infestation sourced from the ground floor and got up as high as level 5. So it was spreading like a wildfire. And we used all sorts of applications really. But looking back at it now, it was quite a feat, because a lot of people were like, "You're mad taking this on," but again, I like a challenge. Yeah,
does that happen in London a lot, given the amount of high rises?
Yeah, Matt's just hit on something that's extremely true. I mean, a lot of hostels, unfortunately, because they've got such a high turnover of people coming in and coming out, you do see a high presence of bedbug activities in those sort of places. I mean, I might add that prior to lockdown, we was actually just about to start something not far off as bad as what we previously did. So we're hoping once COVID lifts, we're going to be resuming that particular project, which is horrendous. It's also very, very bad.
Was it? Well, they stay dormant for years, don't they?
They can go a whole year without feeding.
Wow. And then they'll just come out as soon as they detect someone.
Yeah, once you're asleep and you're exhaling the CO2, then that's what they pick up on. It don't matter if you slept in a bathtub; they'll find you via your breath, unfortunately. And that's education's power. Once you tell people, and that's where bed hopping becomes a big problem, because it's so easy to think, well, I'll go and sleep on the sofa or I'll go and sleep in the other room. But what you're actually doing without knowing is you're spreading and making that problem a lot more worse.
Right. What's Ficam W has been withdrawn this month from the market selling. Matt, what's possible to use as an all-round treatment really for these?
So as Mark's just said, with bedbugs, you want to carry out a series of treatments. You don't just want to hone in on one specific product or one specific treatment process. So it's about sort of changing your treatments on each visit. So with regards to Ficam W, the removal of Ficam W, we have a product on which we have available called C40, which is our Digrain C40 wetable powder. It's a 40% cypermethrin, so it has a really good, strong knockdown effect, and it has a really good residual as well. Any sort of areas where you're spraying it, any untrafficked areas as well, especially, that residual is going to last a good period of time. But you want to be mixing that with other treatments, so not actually mixing it on the day, but carrying out 1 week where you do use something like C40 and do your treatment process with that, and then your next treatment follow up with something like phobia caps or phobia dose. But also, carrying out a series of treatments, pulling the carpets away from the walls and dusting around the edges of the room, and even as far as to, in some cases, unscrew light fittings and fixtures and just dusting around the edges of those. But yeah, so bed bugs is quite an in-depth and detailed process that you need to follow in order to get the problem under control.
Yeah, and you mentioned steam cleaning, Mark. That's like you do that as well to heat treatment, something that can kill them then.
Yeah, so effectively the Cymex eradicator releases 180 degrees of pure dry steam. Now,
right.
The beauty with that particular product is it kills all stages of bed bugs on contact. So that's the adult, the nymph, and the eggs, most importantly, because that's the biggest problem where people face if they're trying to self-treat is they don't take into account the eggs. So the Cymex is great. We own 3 of those at the moment, and it's great because it allows you to sort of knock down 80 to 90% of that population on the first visit, which that's the key to the success of treatments. If you can really hit it on the first visit with the Cymex eradicator, you're really gaining an advantage, and the client will physically feel that advantage that same night from the previous night where they've been bitten to pieces. There's going to be far less bites.
Right, and it's chemical free because it's just using water then.
Absolutely, yeah, completely chemical free. You simply boil it like a kettle. It takes approximately 15 to 20 minutes to get to the desired temperature. I mean, if I can use it, anyone can use it basically, but it's a very good product. And the key selling point to it, as you've just highlighted, is that there is no pesticides added with it. It's just dry steam, which, the client can actually watch what's been bugging them, no pun intended, be eliminated.
Does the client just live with bed bugs for quite a few months before they call you normally? How long until they realise or think to call the pest controller?
I don't know about Matt, but when I went into that property and asked the golden question as how long have you had this problem for, it took him about 3 minutes until he said 6 years.
6 years?
That's what I said. Well, after picking my jaw up off the floor, I then said, "Sorry, did you say 6 years?" To which he replied, "Yes, I've had this problem for 6 years."
Wow.
A problem with a lot of these sorts of places, I think Mark said previously, they'll attempt to try and do it themselves to a fashion. They'll move people from room to room and hope that. I mean, I even had an incident where a guy said that he was planning on sealing the room up for 12 months because he'd heard that they could go 12 months without food. And this was in a 3-bedroom house. He was going to seal the room up and he wasn't going to use it. And my response was, they'll simply migrate. Once a food source isn't available for a period of time, if there's a viable food source within range, they will migrate into other rooms, and it's simply going to spread the problem. So people will try and fix or put a plaster over the top of it to fix it, and then eventually it becomes uncontrollable and requires a lot more treatment than actually just starting it from the very beginning.
Yeah.
You mentioned hostels though, Mark, but do hostels and hotels do routine treatments to combat infestations?
I mean, I think it goes back to education. I mean, sometimes it's easy to look at it and think, why should we spend X amount on regular visits? I mean, dogs have had a big presence within the bedbug detection world. We've got a few big national companies here in the UK which specialise in bedbug detection, and I do feel that they have a place. But like everything, you then get a lot more people that think that they can do it overnight and exploit dogs to that without the right training. So I've seen it for myself. I've been personally involved in very good canine detection work, which has been quite useful. But yeah, I think hostels and hotels, I think education is power, because Matt will know one of the fastest ways to cross-contaminate is via the bedding. You're taking contaminated bedding, you're putting it in a basket full of other bed sheets, which are then transferred into our other rooms, and boom, to the untrained eye, it's just you're looking at it with a grimace face. But again, education is power, and we like to try and work with our clients and educate them on the risks and the dangers, and where possible do try and offer a more proactive approach, whether it's monitoring or visits with dogs to come and screen the properties or rooms.
Right. That's really interesting. I can't imagine it going into a room with that much of an infestation. Though that would probably don't have the stomach for it. I don't think.
You soon develop it, don't you, Matt?
You certainly do. You certainly do.
Yeah.
It's great when you go into an infestation that's that high that even during the daytime when you're wandering around doing your inspection, they're coming out and you're moving the bed around and they're crawling onto your fingers and your hands and stuff like that. It's good fun, mate. Good fun.
Oh, absolutely.
What do you do after? How do you just wear PPE and not worry about it, or?
Go on, sorry, Martin. No, you carry on. Go on.
But with us, I mean, you'll see in the videos, we actually duct taped 2 sets of overalls around our feet and arms, and my wife didn't actually realise how bad it was until she joined the live feed. And I remember getting home and I literally had to strip outside. And I went straight to the bathroom to decontaminate. So, yeah, I mean, we laugh about it. But, I mean, we needed to make sure that we was protecting ourselves and our families, because they don't jump on you like what fleas would. But, in that instance where the activity levels were so severe, they were literally crawling all over the place. So you do have to take it seriously and be mindful of not transporting it, A, in your vehicle, and B, either into your next job or then home.
Right. That is actually a really good point, isn't it? I think, Matt, you'll agree with pest controls. Everyone's trained to not cross-contaminate. Like, I know with coronavirus, it's on people's minds, the idea of spreading something. But pest controllers, whether they're using poison chemicals, anything dangerous, or have been in contact with contaminated pests, they're quite used to the idea of not cross-contaminating anyway, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so. I think the thing with the difference, obviously, with a virus and a bacteria over an insect or an infestation of any kind, is that there's that physical presence. You can physically see, you go into a building, you physically know what you're going in there for, whether it be an infestation of bed bugs or fleas or whatever the case may be. So there's always that risk and that fear that's in the back of your mind that, like Mark just said, you don't want to get them into your vehicle. You don't want to bring them home. Definitely don't want to bring them home. You're going to get into a lot more trouble than that, than taking them into your vehicle. So there's always that. Whereas with a virus, it's slightly different. But I think with pest controllers, I'd like to think that in the forefront of their mind, because they're used to that sort of process of going from infestation to vehicle to home to other calls. There is always that process in their mind that they need to make sure they take their PPE off. They need to make sure that it's stored correctly, ready for disposal. So I think there's a good chance that that a lot of people out there are already aware of what they need to do in terms of that process.
Yeah, no, definitely. But it's good to have. They probably have the base instincts at least. And I know you've said it. If you are going into hygiene related jobs now, like, as well as their pest control rounds, they're also doing a few disinfecting jobs. Is that true, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of companies out there that I know of that offer that service, whether it's a washroom facility, disinfectant. It's not something that we've personally ventured into ourselves as yet, but there is a market for it. If you're already on site, we do see a lot of our fellow pesties around in and out of London that offer that sort of matched up service, if you like.
Yeah, there's a lot of customers who, excuse me, dog's going nuts outside. There's a lot of customers. Well, I say a lot. There's a few customers who have got into disinfectants with regards to using the Digrain OPP Fumite smoke bombs, and then other disinfectant services. And I think on the last podcast that we did, my big thought process when doing a rodent job or doing an insect job or any kind of job where there's a potential for a contamination risk, a disinfectant treatment is something that's nice and easy just to bolt onto the end of that particular job. Whether it's just that you do a spray down of a loft space or release the smoke bomb into the area. Just that sort of extra. That extra mile for the customer. But with regards to this particular situation, there's a few companies out there now that are adding a treatment process using a disinfectant product onto their list of what they can do for their customers. So there are. There's one or two. I mean, we have the Low Clean product, which is our new spray and wipe product, and we also have the Digrain Fumite OPP, which is our smoke bomb. And again, those will work. So you can use them against a variance of different viruses and bacteria out there.
Sure, it'll be interesting to see what comes out of it, really, and to see if people adapt to that kind of role, given the need for it at the moment, or whether there's actually probably too many pest jobs because everything's overrun from the lockdown. Really, if you're going back into a restaurant at the moment, surely you're going to find a rat infestation or some significant things to deal with there. I don't, Mark, if you had like some call outs about that.
We look after a couple of large catering units, and both of those clients have seen an increase through no fault of their own. They're normally doing all the required sort of safe storage of foods and whatnot, but I think it just comes down to the fact that the natural food provisions that were feeding a lot of the rodents. I mean, I don't want to mention any names, but it doesn't take long to think, our large national food chain companies that have been closed for a long period of time now. If you go to a lot of these places late at night, if you're sad enough like me to often go and view these things, you'll see just how sustainable it is to rodents where they're feeding on the waste because they just throw them on the back of the trolley. And, Matt mentioned that word earlier about, they'll migrate elsewhere. They're not silly. If there's no food there, then they're going to go elsewhere. And a lot of old units, etc., with structural issues, particularly if the client hasn't picked up on your structural issues on previous reports, if they've got in through that way, that's then something that you're able to sit down with your client and say, look, I told you about this. So it then does give you as a pest control officer the opportunity to say, well, look, we really do need to look at the proofing aspects of your building now. So there are advantages to that. Whilst it's unpleasant for the client to experience that, there is then that opportunity for you to review it and actually see what else can we do to enhance the protection.
Right. And I mean, Porter's Pest Control, you're probably one of the most active companies in London in terms of you really understand the environment of what it means to be doing pest control in the city. You have quite a few kind of recurring jobs, don't you? Where even in coronavirus, because they've been not in what would you say, around people, you've just been going and doing them with the electronic doors and
exactly that.
Clients.
I mean, so about 80% of our business is block and estate management. It's just something that when I worked at ProKill many years ago, it was an area that I was very comfortable in, and it was an area that I understood what the property managers wanted and what the client wanted. So yeah, thankfully my portfolio boasts quite a lot of large estates where, as you say, we work on trust, so we've got codes, we've got keys, we've got fobs. So we was lucky enough to be able to get out and keep those sites as free of pests as possible, and more importantly, we was able to sort of get out, service it, and keep the invoices going in as well, so it wasn't really affecting the numbers side of things as well, which as an owner of a business is what we look at each month, and we judge ourselves on irrespective of what's going on.
Sure, it's a huge stress factor, I'm sure.
Scary. It was quite scary.
How has it been? You've had some quite big jobs in the past with quite big grounds, haven't you? You've done the Oval. I saw that one on Facebook about half a year ago now.
Yeah, we picked up the Oval cricket ground. I mean, we've done work on some prestigious sites, and thankfully that's just down to reputation. I mean, I've been in the industry for 17 years. I learned my game at what was ProKill, which unfortunately is no more. Rent-A-Kill acquired them and liquidated them. So but yeah, I've sort of took those ethics of ProKill and then installed that into my own business with my own sort of personality factors into that. And yeah, we've picked up some big things. I mean, for those that are familiar with London, we look after a massive skyscraper in Blackfriars called Number One Blackfriars.
I think I know that one. Yes.
Yeah,
that one.
It was right by the Thames.
Yeah, is that in the same way? Am I correct? Is it near the Gherkin and those?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we look after, we've got a couple of prestigious buildings that, we do reference to if we're tendering for business, then it is nice to say, look, we've worked with the Oval Cricket Ground. We work with a big local council in London, one of the biggest in London that we currently work with on a proactive and reactive basis, as well as the Blackfriars building. So yeah, it's, you know, we're only a small to medium-sized company, but I think it's easy to paint the picture to people that you'll get a nice personal service with a family-run business.
Yes, and that you're always on the phone as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all my boxes have my direct mobile number on there. Some would say that's mad, but for me, that's commitment. Because if anyone has a problem, they're speaking to the owner of the business, and you know, that's where I feel the difference is.
Yeah, fantastic. And 2020 aside, it's on the up for you as well, isn't it? You're increasing your size of staff, and you're really enjoying what you do now.
Yeah, I think we're very much. I mean, we're 3.5 years in now. We've got 4 vehicles on the road. You know, I've got a real good team behind me, and you know, you are only as good as the people out there doing it, because it's all well and good me telling them what's going to be delivered, but if my team aren't delivering that, then you know, we're in trouble. But thankfully, I've been quite lucky that I've picked up some people that share the same vision as me. And you know, we've all got the same goals really, which is just to keep growing and just keep that sort of standard of service up.
Well, I look forward to following it. Should we a better segment on to a bit of a Q&A that we ran? Mark, you helped promote it a little, and we got a couple of results in to talk about. I think we'll go with 3 questions today, because we are probably not going to fit loads in. But if you have any questions, you can always email matt@lodi-uk.com or get in touch with Porter's Pest Control. So those are always options. I know that, Mark, you like to help out newbies to pest control and give them a bit of guidance. You're pretty active on social media. That's an understatement. Very active on social media. So yeah, I'm sure there's always a place to ask a question. I've got one actually relating to FICAM, if I may. With the withdrawal of FICAM W from the industry, what product do we offer as a decent alternative with a good residual that is non-staining? That's probably one for you, Matt, actually.
Yeah, as previously mentioned, it would be the C40 wettable powder, which is the 40% cypermethrin, has the good, a strong knockdown and good residual.
Started recording again because Mark had a technical failure. Thank Mark for that one.
Yeah.
I think we're midway through the Q&A. Hold on a second.
What are you eating, Matt?
Bacon roll.
Nice.
The bakery down the road open, so gotta be done.
We cut out for 10 minutes and you went for a bacon roll.
No, that was already waiting for me.
Oh, okay.
We're having chocolate biscuits.
Nice. Always time for chocolate biscuits.
Question I had from Keith Action Pest Control. So with the withdrawal of FICAM to be from the industry, what product do we offer as a decent alternative with good residual and non-staining? Matt, you just answered that one. Digrain C40, great to use. I'm sure you'll be able to give all the information on it. What has that impacted on you, Mark? Were you a big user of FICAM W? Is it something that you will miss, or?
I mean, we have used it. But I do think, and I've always been a big advocate, that we can't get stuck in our ways. We've got to evolve as the industry evolves. So there's plenty of great alternatives out there, which we use. I mean, we are a big fan of a lot of the Lodi products as well ourselves, which we use. I've always been a big fan of the Phobidose when it first came out in its original packaging, etc. And I do a lot of good praise about C40 WP, as other pesties do as well. So the direct answer to your question, it will be missed. It was one of the greatest products that we've had for a very long time. But like everything else, we got to move on, and you know, I'm sure we'll survive without it.
Yeah, I agree. I think everyone's just reacting to it, and everyone will adapt, I'm sure. I've got a bed bug question. I know you're short on time, Mark, so I'll keep it as short as possible. I'm carrying out a bed bug job in a hotel. I have treated several rooms successfully. However, one room keeps having a recurring activity. I have used FICAM W, Symmetrol Super, FICAM D around the floor and walls, where I've lifted the carpets. I've unscrewed fittings and dusted behind those. I've removed the headboard and also thrown the bed and mattress away. And still one room has small amounts of activity, which has been going on for some time. He's not sure else what he can do. Any ideas? That one's quite a hard one. So he's used a lot of product around the floor, walls, and has lifted carpets and unscrewed fittings, but he's stuck to how to remove it. He's in a hotel. Any ideas there, Mark?
I think possibly without seeing it, it's difficult to obviously give a full explanation, but it could be like, it sounds like he's pushed them in the walls. It's, bed bugs aren't silly. They know that there's something there, so they could just be hiding or potentially have migrated elsewhere. I mean, I don't know where this gentleman's located, but if he wants to reach out to me, we can maybe have a bit more of an in-depth discussion. But for the sake of the podcast, I think initially what jumps out at me is alarm bells. I don't know what you think, Matt, but
it's a difficult one. I heard this question earlier, and it was one that sort of that threw me a little bit. And like you just said, without actually seeing the problem, it's difficult to sort of difficult to comment on.
What can you use on bees if needed? This is a really tricky question.
Do you want to answer that, Matt, or me?
Go on, I'll let you.
So I think, without avoiding the question, I think at all costs we shouldn't be using any products on bees. I think there's no excuses. I mean, I appreciate there's often going to be a cost associated with trying to extract bees out of a location, but bees are good for the economy. They're a non-harmful pest, so I wouldn't personally be recommending or endorsing any product to be used on bees. And as I say, I'm not avoiding that question. It's just something I believe in, that we shouldn't be doing it at any cost. Really, we shouldn't be treating bees. So I appreciate that doesn't answer the question that's been asked, but in my opinion, as a professional, I think we should be safeguarding bees and looking out for their welfare and educating the client that bees actually are more of a good than a threat.
Yeah, the BPCA website does state that as part of a responsible pest management industry, they've pledged to educate customers on the benefits of them rather than taking legal action. That does make sense. Yeah, that's my advice. And as I say, to that person asking the question, again, we're not avoiding that particular question, but I don't think we should be putting recommendations in place on how to treat bees. Just ethically, I don't think that's correct.
One thing I'll sort of add on the back of what Mark just said is that pest controllers, if you work with your local beekeeper as well, and sort of get involved with those guys, and they're to me they were always a valuable asset when I was out there doing jobs for bees. And you can work with them, and they'll sort of give you the advice, and they'll give you help and assistance where needed. If you feel it's a health and safety risk, and there's the availability to remove the nest or the swarm or whatever the case may be, then if you contact your local beekeeper and work with those guys, they'll come out and they'll do they'll take the nest away and sort of give you advice if they can't on what else you could try and do.
No, perfect. Well, I'm not going to keep you both any longer. I know that, Mark, you're going to be out in London for the whole day now, and I've probably extended your day by about another half an hour. Thanks for sticking on with us. I think he's just left, actually.
I think his battery might have gone.
Right. Well, we've lost Mark again, so I think that's gonna end the show there, because he's got to go off in London anyway, and he's already valiantly tried to charge it for 10 minutes already, so he's not coming back now. Trying to do a podcast from the Midlands and London at the same time is not possible, it seems, without someone's battery dying. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you, mate. Thanks to Mark as well. I appreciate it. Craig.
No.
Is Craig available at all?
Yeah, this is Craig.
Great. How's it going, mate? It's Matt from Lodi.
Oh, you're all right.
Yeah, good. You?
Yeah, that's what. Thanks.
Craig, just need to let you know that we're just recording this call on our podcast. But I wanted to give you a quick ring and just let you know that we have announced the winner of the competition that we ran, the emoji competition.
Okay.
And you've won, mate.
Oh, thank you.
No, not a problem at all. Not a problem at all. We wanted to announce it on the podcast, but obviously we just wanted to check that you're okay with us doing that first.
Absolutely, yeah, that's great.
Is that okay? Cool.
Yeah.
No worries. What I'll do, Craig, as soon as I've finished the podcast and finished this call, I'll give you a shout back. We'll have a quick catch up, and I'll let you know in terms of what we'll do, sending the TV out to you.
Oh, lovely. No worries.
All right, then, buddy.
Thank you very much, mate. Cheers.
Not a problem at all, mate. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Right, so you've just got the winner then. The answers were bedbug, blue bottle fly, house mouse, earwig, silverfish, ticks, daddy longlegs, and Asian hornet. And the bonus question was Digrain C40, wasn't it? So we will ship out some Digrain C40 phobia caps and the 55-inch LG TV to Craig from Elite Pest Management then. Yeah, we got quite a lot of entrants there as well. So he's the lucky winner out of those. So we will be making a donation to the NHS as part of the quiz that we will announce the winner for. And we'll let you know when that should be sometime next week, shouldn't it now?